to another edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the weekly show covering the great outdoors in the Pacific Northwest and Rocky Mountain West. Fishing, hunting, conservation, recreation, and destinations, we cover that and more. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you by Mack, Sportsman's Warehouse, Northeast Montana's Missouri River Country, the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, and the Northern Pike Minnow Sport Reward Fishery Program. Now, let's see what's in store this week. Here's your host, John Cruz.
Welcome to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'll tell you what, it has been a busy couple of weeks. As many of you know, I fished the Limit Out Marine Pro-Am tournament 2 weeks ago. Right after that, went to Lewiston, Idaho, where I attended a panel at the Jack O'Connor Hunting Heritage and Education Center, and then was the keynote speaker for their annual fundraising banquet that night. Had a wonderful time, met some great folks, and we interviewed those folks on our sister show, America Outdoors Radio. Then last weekend, I fished the Big Bass Tournament with my best friend and the original Northwestern Outdoors Radio pro staffer, Rusty Johnston. We did well. We did quite well. But we're going to wait until next week to give you all the details on that. And right after that, I headed to the Dalles in Oregon to put together another show for America Outdoors Radio because the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce is a sponsor of that show. And yes, I got to do a little fishing while I was down there too. Some of you may be wondering what I did during my travels with my puppy dog Sam, the English Springer Spaniel. He's 8 months now. He weighs some 35 pounds, but he's still very much a puppy. Oh boy, very much a puppy with lots of energy. And I'm happy to report I got to take him to Lewiston, and he's getting over his car sickness thanks to non-prescription Dramamine, and he's actually starting to enjoy long rides again. Not only that, he was introduced to elevators at the Grand Canyon Lodge in Lewiston. Scared of them at first, but soon learned to love them because he realized they were going to take him to places he wanted to be. I'm probably overdue to post a picture of Sam on Facebook, so check out our Northwestern Outdoors Radio Facebook page in the coming days, and I'll make it a point to get a picture of Sam there. Let's talk about this week's show, because we've got a good one for you. Sticking in the Columbia River Gorge, Bob Loomis has got an extended Max Minute focusing on catching spring Chinook salmon in places like the mouth of the Wind River and Drano Lake. We'll also talk to Justin Bush in Olympia, Washington. He's with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, and they've got a problem with northern pike. They consider them an invasive species. They can wreak havoc on salmon smolt, and they are showing up now in western Washington at a couple of unlikely places. And while Washington State doesn't want pike, the state of Oregon is looking for some tiger muskie to plant into a reservoir in eastern Oregon called Phillips Reservoir. The reason why is because they want to control an out-of-control perch population, and they think sterile tiger muskies can do just that. Ethan Brandt, the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife biologist behind this stocking plan, will join us to tell you more about it and why he thinks this time tiger muskie stocking is going to work there. Finally, I've got to tell you, while I was at the Pro-Am, I got to fish with a great angler named Jake Anderson, and he rigged me up with a rod from Alpha Angler. That's a company based in Spokane. The owner is Jake Boomer, who's a tournament bass fisherman himself, and we'll have him on the line today to tell you more about the excellent high-end bass rods he makes right here in the inland Northwest. So we've got a whole lot of fishing and fish conservation coming at you on the show today, but for you hunters out there, don't worry. We've got a hunting dog trivia question of the week for you from Sportsman's Warehouse towards the end of our program, where you get the chance to win a $25 gift card from America's premier outfitter. Before we get into that, though, let's go ahead and see what's in store for us this week on Bird Note.
This is Bird Note. And this week, we're taking you behind the scenes and highlighting the importance of listener support. How does a young bird learn to sing? When a new generation of birds hatches, they copy the songs they hear from nearby adults. A young bird's first attempts aren't perfect. They're called sub-songs, chaotic jumbles of notes. But like any young musician, they improve with practice. After a year or so, the young birds are as skilled as the rest of the flock. Here at Bird Note, we've heard from many listeners who say they enjoy listening to the show with children or grandchildren, sharing the love of birds with the next generation. Educators use our shows in classrooms to help students connect with the course material on a personal level. And you can help ensure that BirdNote stories continue to inspire the next generation by making a donation of any amount today at birdnote.org. For over 19 years, BirdNote's programs have helped educate and spark interest in wildlife for millions of people. Help support BirdNote's mission to inspire the next generation of bird lovers by making a donation now at birdnote.org. And from all of us at BirdNote, thank you. I'm Michael Stein.
BirdNote is proud to share its storytelling with fans of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. You can help inspire more people to care about the natural world by making a tax-deductible donation at birdnote.org. Support BirdNote today with a gift of any amount at birdnote.org.
A sharp blade makes short work of any project you have in the outdoors, in the kitchen, or in the shop. Hone your knives and tools with quality power and manual sharpeners from WorkSharp. Find out more at worksharptools.com.
You're back in with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Our next stop is Baker City, home of our affiliate, 1490 KBKR, longtime affiliate, by the way, and also the home of Phillips Reservoir. It's a lake that is stocked with trout by the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. It also has a perch population, a booming perch population, and that's a problem. With us here to tell you more about the problem and a potential solution is Ethan Brandt. He is a fisheries biologist for ODFW that works in this region. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thank you.
So tell me about the perch population in Phillips Reservoir and just how many perch are in there.
Well, perch were illegally introduced in Phillips Reservoir. They were first documented back in 1991. And there were some estimates that there are about 1.5 million perch in the reservoir. And because of this, they've kind of outcompeted many of the trout we've put into the lake. Typically, our trout in Phillips Reservoir back in the day was one of the best fisheries in Oregon. But because of the perch, they've outcompeted this fishery, and the perch have become stunted. And there's so many perch that actually back in the day when Lake Cascade out of McCall collapsed, they actually went to Phillips Reservoir to take perch out of Phillips and put them into Cascade to boost the population in Cascade.
Well, that's one way to get rid of some of the perch, but I know that's not an effective way. I understand that your agency has tried planting tiger muskie in the past to control the population. Why is that?
In the past, biologists here wanted to stock tiger muskie for kind of 4 different reasons. The first was a biological control of the yellow perch population, try to bring that population down. Also, to improve the growth and survival of the rainbow trout that we stock into the lake. And then thirdly, to improve the fishery for both the rainbow trout and the yellow perch. In theory, if we can reduce the number of yellow perch, we'll then boost the growth of the rainbow trout and the perch, and it'll be better for the anglers, and they'll be at more of a harvestable size for them. And also the fourth reason, which I'm really excited about, is that it will provide, a unique trophy fishery for tiger muskie. So that's kind of what they tried to do in the past. It was an opportunity to control this perch population without chemicals. It's just stock the fish. Hopefully they'll grow and eat the perch and knock them down.
So between 2013 and 2017, 53,000 juvenile tiger muskie were stocked in the lake, but it didn't work. Why is that?
Well, back in the day, they had stocked larger fish, and they were typically about 5 inches in those first few years. And then that wasn't working, so they tried about 10 or 11 inches in 2016 and 2017. And the reason why this stocking strategy didn't seem to work is that there's not a lot of complex cover inside of Phillips Reservoir. And these fish coming right out of the hatchery were stocked into the reservoir. A lot of them swam along the surface, and they were picked off by birds. At one point, they had even done a radio study to track the fish and see where they were moving throughout the lake. But that was quickly ended because most of the radio tags were found on the shore or in trees because birds had eaten them.
Interesting. Okay. So you're taking a different approach this time. You're stalking tiger muskie, but in a much different form.
Yeah, so this time we've decided to kind of model our stalking strategy off of Utah. So in Utah, they stalk about 2-inch tiger muskie. And what they found is that if they stalk a lot of them, they put them up into the grassy areas in the lake, up where they can find rocks, and they can get into those spaces where they can hide from predators, that they found that even though the survival isn't incredibly high, they still are able to get enough of them to survive. So what I've decided to do, instead of stalking less fish that are of larger size, my strategy is to stalk more fish that are smaller, and hopefully now we'll be able to just swamp the lake with a bunch of fish, and we'll have higher survival. And a couple more reasons why I think this strategy may work is that these fish will be able to hide a little bit better. They're not coming right out of the hatchery, so hopefully they'll have more of a natural instinct to them to avoid some of these predators. And then I think that overall, because the survival is typically not very high, putting a lot of them in there I think is really going to help just be able to overcome that survival bottleneck.
What is the survival rate you're looking at for these larval tiger muskie? Are we talking like 1%?
So really what we've decided, or what I've seen from past biologists, was that we're really trying to target 1 to 2 fish per acre. So we've stocked about 70,000 this year, and there's only 2,235 acres of lake. Well, I guess that isn't, maybe I shouldn't just say only, it is a fairly sizable lake. So if we only get 1% or 0.5% of survival from these 70,000 tiger muskie, that will meet objectives. And then hopefully, if that continues to meet objectives, we'll be able to just stock fish on top of that to replace the fish that are either dying from predators or dying from just natural mortality, and we'll be able to sustain that 1 to 2 fish per acre management objective.
Are tiger muskie stocked in any other lakes in Oregon?
No, they're not. Currently, the commission has only allowed for tiger muskies to be stocked into Phillips Reservoir. We can't even raise them in hatcheries. We're not allowed to stock them anywhere else, and because of that, we've had to go out and outsource. So in the past, the early stockings were from Wyoming. This year, Utah graciously had some extra fish and let us stock them. They are stocked in other areas around us in Idaho, Montana, Utah, Wyoming, and Washington, all stock tiger muskies into their lakes as biological controls. However, Phillips currently is the only lake in Oregon that they can currently be stocked.
Very interesting. Now, I understand that you could put pike in there, but that's definitely considered a problem fish. And the reason that states prefer tiger muskie is because they're sterile. Is that right?
Yes. Tiger muskie are sterile. And so because of that, we can kind of control them very easily. We can do population monitoring, figure out how many are in there. If there's too many, if they're somehow reducing the perch or trout population too much through predation, we can back off on our stocking. If there's too little, we can add more. Now, if we were going to stock pike, those fish are invasive, they're not sterile, and they could overpopulate the lake and essentially crash everything. It could crash the perch population, could crash the trout population, and so we would definitely not want to do that. And tiger muskie give us the ability to just have that lever as a management action to be able to dial in the exact number we need to be able to produce a trophy perch and trophy trout fishery.
Well, it sounds fantastic. Not to mention the fact long-term you might be able to have a trophy tiger muskie fishery too, which would be super exciting for anglers in Oregon who don't have that opportunity otherwise. Anything else folks should know about tiger muskie and perch and Phillips Reservoir?
Well, I think the one thing that I would just like to mention is that we're very excited about this. We're hoping that we will, like you just said, have a tiger muskie fishery and hopefully a trophy tiger muskie fishery that'll attract anglers from around the state and maybe even from other states. Right now, the regulations are catch and release. These fish are put there for a purpose. We also want them to be able to be caught by other anglers. And in the past, I think part of the reason why the stocking did not work is because some of these fish were poached. So just wanted to remind people that this is a fishery that is a catch and release fishery, and we hope that we can continue this fishery well into the future and allow many anglers to catch a trophy muskie.
There we go. Fisheries management. It's not an easy thing. It's very complex, but Ethan is working on solving the problem of perch in Phillips Reservoir with tiger muskie, and I wish you luck in this endeavor. Ethan, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
Come to Oregon's Wallowa County for outdoors adventure. Hike, ride, paddle, fish, or sightsee to your heart's content. And then visit one of our wonderful towns, whether it be Joseph with its beautiful bronze statues, our county seat in Enterprise, or one of our charming small towns like Wallowa, Imnaha, or Troy, where you can eat, shop, and sleep before continuing your adventure the next day. Plan your visit now at WallowaCountyChamber.com. That's WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Anglers are getting a raise this year with the Northern Pike Minnow Sport Reward Fishery Program, and the fish are biting. Here's how it works. First, register at a pike minnow station along the Columbia or Snake River. Next, go fishing for pike minnow and bring back all of them that measure 9 inches or longer. The fish are worth $6, $8, or $10, and the more fish you catch, the more each one is worth. Keep an eye out for tagged fish too, because those are worth $500. Go fishing, make money, and have fun. Find out more at pikeminnow.org.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter, full of the gear you need to succeed this hunting season. Firearms, ammo, archery equipment, decoys, clothing, boots, and more. Find a location near you or shop online today at sportsmans.com.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio and to an extended Max Minute, brought to you by Max Lure.
You know what time it is? It's time for another extended Max Minute. With us again is Bob Loomis with Max Lure. Bob, great to see you again.
Thank you, John.
Spring Chinook, the run up the Columbia River was not great this spring. However, there are some portions that remain open, and those would be
Drano and Wind River, mouth of Wind River.
So we're talking Columbia River Gorge, and we're talking about two fisheries that get a lot of pressure and not a whole lot of space to fish. How do you go about catching fish in here?
Well, you know, one of the number one things that everybody has gone to is using the large paddle flashers. And, you know, we've got the scent flash paddle flasher that you can fill up with scent, which gives you that added attraction to your baits and lures, drawing fish in, as well as running a smile blade with a prawn. You know, we make the prawn rigs, and there's a lot of people now that are using just smile blades with prawns.
A lot of folks fish from the bank in this area, too. Would plunking a prawn rig and a ghost shrimp or other type of shrimp work?
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's a number of different ways to fish the springers. Fishing on the bottom is okay, but actually casting, you know, using a mooching lead or something like that and casting a prawn rig or a shrimp rig or something like that would work very well.
What colors would you recommend down there?
The chartreuses are always going to be good, especially early in the year like this, but the hot pinks stand out, you know, high UV colors predominantly.
And as for the paddle flasher, we're obviously talking about the Max UV scent flash. What kind of scent would you put in that?
I'd run tuna. You know, take your tuna and mix it up with a blend of scents. There's so many different scents. Everybody's got their own, but using the tuna as a medium to carry everything works very well.
Well, there you go. There's still some Springer opportunities available, so consider getting a Max UV scent flash paddle flasher and a wedding ring prawn rig, both from Max Lure. Look for them at quality sporting goods stores all over the Northwest or online anytime at maxlure.com.
Game-changing. That's the best way to describe the new Scent Flash UV Triangle Flasher from Max Lure Company. This 360-degree rotational inline flasher features a scent release system attracting salmon to the lure behind it like no other flasher on the market. Soak the free scent pad with any type of oil or gel, or load up the cavity with any type of bait for fishing success beyond your wildest dreams. It's the Scent Flash UV Triangle Flasher, only from Max Lure Company.
Want to go fishing and make money? You are in luck. This year's Pike Minnow Sport Reward Fishery kicks off May 1st. Just register at a check station and go fishing for 9-inch or longer northern pike minnow within designated waters of the Columbia or Snake River. Then you bring your fish back and collect a voucher good for a cash reward. The more fish you catch, the more they're worth. Catch a pike minnow with a special tag and you've landed $500. Find out more at pikeminnow.org. That's pikeminnow.org.
backcountryhunters.org. Join the fight for our public lands and waters today.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Our next stop is Spokane. That is the home of Alpha Angler, and I'll tell you what, they make some very, very high-quality bass rods. Not only do they make high-quality bass rods, they're made right here in the USA. With us here to tell you more about him is the man behind Alpha Angler. That would be Jake Boomer. Jake, great to have you on the show.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me.
So, Jake, I've seen you at some of the bass tournaments here in the Northwest, and you've definitely fished your share of bass tournaments every year, don't you?
Yeah, I'm what you'd call a junkie. I think that once you kind of get into that world, and that's the one I got into, I was never really driven by catching big fish or catching a bunch of fish, but the actual competitive nature of tournament fishing is what got me into the sport kind of head first, if you want to say it that way.
Well, let's talk about the chicken and the egg. Which came first, your love of tournament bass fishing or your love of rod making?
Tournament bass fishing for sure. I started fishing quite a few tournaments with some friends, and that was probably 10 or 15 years ago. And because of that, and I have an engineering degree, kind of that tinkering background type personality, I started making my own rods, probably about like 2009-ish.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of your friends, Jake Anderson, I got to fish on the boat with him as an amateur angler during the Pro-Am tournament at Potholes Reservoir, and he was kind enough to actually rig up one of your rods with a Texas rig Senko, and it was like I was going from a Chevy Impala with the rods I had to a Chevy Corvette with your rod. It was just an amazing experience. Lightweight, great action, durable. I mean, it is a very, very fine rod that you make, and that was just one. You make several rods for various applications, don't you?
We do. I mean, we really focus on the bass world, the techniques around catching bass, and we can do that because most of us fish. We're all competitive anglers, the guys that are on my team, my friends. And so it's really easy to get information to create, hey, we're drop shotting this weekend, we create the drop shot rod. And we're throwing a chatterbait, we create a rod for chatterbait. So you get tons of information and tons of feedback. So you can create a bunch of different types of rods for different scenarios, but mostly related around the bass world for us.
Now, your rods are all made right here in the USA. Does that include the blanks too?
Yep. Every one of our blanks, except for one. And I've been pretty open about this. When we started the company, there was a rod blank made somewhere else that did the job better than anywhere. We weren't going to be biased about it. We just really want the best performing products that we could make. And so we get one that comes out of, I think it's Taiwan. You just can't beat it. I've tried to have it duplicated in the States. We don't sell a ton of them, but it's one I just can't walk away from. I have a customer base that really loves it. But the majority of my rods and blanks come from Woodland, Washington.
Well, Woodland, Washington is certainly known for high-quality rods, especially in the salmon steelhead world. Let's talk a little bit about some of your customers. And speaking of your customer base, a very, very famous Bassmaster Elite Series angler uses your rods on a regular basis, Brandon Polinock.
He does. He's actually, within the last 5 years, is actually a business partner now, too, which is kind of neat because when we actually decided to go national, we started the company in 2011 kind of as an LLC. About 2015 or 16, we were making enough rods that there was professional anglers calling me and asking me for these rods. And we decided, hey, we have something here. What would it look like on a more grand scale? And Brandon was actually one of those guys that pushing me to go national.
How many rods do you manufacture a year?
We sell anywhere between 1,600 and 2,000 direct. And then we probably make about 2,200. And that's because we have pro staffers and warranty and stuff like that.
Well, that tells me you are definitely not operating out of your garage as a one-man band, are you?
No. We have 5 employees. We're partnered with a couple of the better builders in the country that they build for us under contract. We buy our blanks, the majority of them, like I said, 97.8% of them, I think is what the math was, from one of the 3 or 4 vendors in Woodland. So, yeah, it's a big operation. I actually hired my dad, and he is actually a business partner as well, like Brandon, as our general manager, and he manages all of our inventory.
Interesting. Now, your rods are not cheap. They run up towards $300. Do they come with a warranty?
They do. They come with a 3-year warranty, and we have the no questions asked warranty, which is if you break it, we don't do any investigative work on why it broke. Most of the time, it's really hard to tell anyway. It's just $100 to get a new one. And so that was actually based off of some of the old G. Loomis type logic, the Expediter program. And I like that better because you really don't have to investigate anything. It's just, hey, $100 to get a new rod. Because we know how us bass fishermen are tough on rods and car doors and rod locker doors and shoes. Those are all pretty hard on fishing rods these days.
Oh, yes. And I have broken them all of those ways and many more. So I love the warranty that you have and the no questions asked. That's nice, too. What is your best-selling rod?
So we make a 7.3 medium heavy, which is a pretty common size in our sport. And it's actually, we named it, it's called the Zilla. And Brandon actually named it years ago. And it's just one of those rods where you have one and you wish you had three, because you can just do so many things with it. And it's kind of really been our bread and butter. People usually start with that. We call it the gateway drug. People start with that rod, and then I think they're impressed with that, the way we refined that down to what it is, and then they start sniffing around to some of our other products, which is kind of the way we want it. We want you to be comfortable with one, and then you see, oh, hey, these guys actually put their thought into it. And most of my rods are designed by my customers, which is what I think sets us apart. By being the guy that answers the phone most of the time, I'm talking to people who say, hey, listen, I need a rod better for this technique. And so we love to take a ton of feedback in when we design our product.
Now, most of your rods, they're graphite, but you actually have one that's a glass rod?
I actually have 4 that are glass rods, and we've partnered with a couple different companies that are actually blending different types of glass together. So, for instance, one of our rods has a glass tip. It would be probably like an ugly stick, so a very high-end ugly stick, where the tip is glass, which allows your bait to deflect off and maybe delay some of those hook sets and bites that you get when you're moving a bait through the water. But then it transitions into a composite back end. And then we have some just pure glass cranking rods as well.
Ingenious. All right. And I got to ask about the rod that is featured on your homepage, the 76er. Something tells me it's probably 7.5 feet long. Tell me more about it.
So that's a really cool story. That is a rod that we created. You used a version of that rod when you fished with Jake a couple weeks ago, Jake Anderson. That was a customer designed product where the customer kept asking for things. And we went out and kind of did a survey with our customers saying, hey, what would you like to see in a rod that's a little longer? It's a spinning rod. So a lot of guys don't want a 7.5 foot spinning rod, but there was a need for it. And so we worked on 5 or 6 different versions and had them tested until that one came out. And I'll be honest, as the head designer here, as the guy that kind of everything goes through, I didn't like it at first, but my customers did. So we built a bunch of them. And now it's my favorite rod as well. It's just, what we think we know about this industry, you just don't know until you actually get on the water and catch a few fish. And I was enlightened by what they were asking for that we eventually created. And once again, so it's a 7.5 foot rod, which most spinning rods aren't that long, but it's really cool for throwing Sankos and things like that, kind of the bread and butter bait in bass fishing. You can throw it a long ways. You have a lot of control. You have a lot of sensitivity, even with a long spinning rod.
I agree on all counts. I absolutely love fishing that rod with a Senko. Last question. How can folks buy your rods?
So we are the first direct-to-consumer only fishing rod company. I can say that because I researched it before we started Alpha Angler. And we are all online, alphaangler.com. And the cool thing about our company is we sell at wholesale. So we build rods that would normally retail for a higher price point, however retail markup works. But my goal was to bring a high-end product at wholesale prices direct to my consumer base. So you have to go to the website. It's alphaangler.com. And we have great customer service. If you send us emails, we can answer any questions.
The website again, alphaangler.com. If you are into bass fishing and you want a high-quality rod, whether it's a bait casting rod or a spinning rod, the website is the same, alphaangler.com. If it's good enough for Brandon Polnick, it's probably good enough for you. alphaangler.com, that's the website for Alpha Angler. They're also on Facebook, too. Check them out and upgrade your bass fishing game today. Jake, thanks so much. Looking forward to seeing you out in the water soon.
Yeah, ditto. I hope you have a great weekend, everybody that's going after the big bass and all those tournaments, and thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Come to Grant County in eastern Washington for a fishing vacation. You've got all sorts of lakes to choose from. You've got the Sun Lakes north of Ephrata, the Quincy Lakes between George and Quincy, the Seep Lakes below Potholes Reservoir, and the Big Three, that would be Potholes Reservoir, Banks Lake, and Moses Lake. Find out more about these fishing destinations and places to stay at grantcountywa.gov. That's grantcountywa.gov.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter, full of the gear you need to succeed this hunting season. Firearms, ammo, archery equipment, decoys, clothing, boots, and more. Find a location near you or shop online today at sportsmans.com.
You're back in with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Our next stop is Olympia in Washington State. That's where you're going to find Justin Bush. He is the lead on battling northern pike in the Evergreen State. It's a species that is not wanted there at all, even though it is valued in other states around the nation. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So just saw a press release from the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife that pike have been removed from Lake Washington in western Washington, as well as Carefree Lake on the San Juan Islands. I know they've established a foothold in several northeast Washington waterways. And let's start off with this question. Why does the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife want to eradicate northern pike? Because they are a valued game fish in states like Montana, many Midwestern states, and Canada.
In the state of Washington, we're very concerned about northern pike's impact through predation on our valued fisheries in Washington. Northern pike are prohibited aquatic invasive species that were illegally introduced to our state, and we're seeing them spread downstream where they're well established, as well as seeing them being illegally moved to new water bodies in our state. They're a problem because they can prey on fish between 10 inches to 35 inches. So thinking about our native and endangered species, we're very concerned about the risk of predation to those economically and tribally protected resources.
Speaking of tribally protected resources, I know that the tribes and WDFW have made a concerted effort to remove pike from some eastern Washington waterways like Lake Roosevelt, the Pend Oreille River, and they're doing it primarily through gill netting, aren't they?
Correct. Where they're well established, our tactic is to work cooperatively with tribes to suppress the populations to a level that they are not able to spread downstream and establish. Where they're well established, that is our tactic. Where they're just getting introduced to a new area, there's a different tactic to try to eliminate the population totally. And this is guided by a new state response plan that was just approved last month.
Okay, we'll talk about that plan in just a minute. Before we do, though, let's talk about another method that's being used to get rid of pike. One of the tribes actually offers a bounty if you turn in heads of northern pike.
Correct. The Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation have a bounty system in Lake Roosevelt where if you catch a northern pike, you can turn in the head for a financial reward. We know that that won't be the solution toward overall management, but it's a tool in the toolbox, and it helps us meet our management goals of reducing the population in Lake Roosevelt to a point where it can't effectively spread downstream.
I live in eastern Washington, and I've been seeing signs pop up basically saying, northern pike, if you catch one, this is what it looks like, kill it, photograph it, and report it to the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. Tell me more about this program.
It's illegal to leave Washington waters with a live northern pike. You also cannot transport any live fish without a permit from the state. Under our regulations, prohibited aquatic invasive species may be immediately killed and retained, but this is only if the person is certain about the species identification and assumes responsibility for correct identification and adherence to state rules and regulations. We need the public's assistance to be aware of northern pike and to report any detections immediately. For us, if you find a northern pike and you report it, this may trigger a rapid response and prevent thousands, if not millions, in economic damage and uncalculated environmental loss.
Let's talk a little bit about the pike found in Carefree Lake, a little body of water in the San Juan Islands. Somebody went to a lot of trouble to get some northern pike, either on the ferry or on a boat, to get them planted in there.
Yeah, the San Juan Island detection was made by a member of the public that was angling and caught a northern pike, recognized that it was something that seemed abnormal, and reported it to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Invasive species awareness and reporting is a great way for the public to help us so that we can trigger rapid response and prevent additional expansion. Since that time, over 22 northern pike have been captured and removed from that very small lake in San Juan Island.
Now, let's talk about Lake Washington, because pike have been showing up there in small numbers over several years. This year, though, when the Muckleshoot tribe did some gill netting for survey purposes, they found not just a few northern pike, but northern pike in different age classes, which seems to indicate that maybe they're getting a foothold there and they're spawning.
At least 6 northern pike have been removed from Lake Washington since 2017. And currently, the Muckleshoot Indian Tribe and the state of Washington are working together to monitor and suppress predatory fish in Lake Washington around removing species like northern pike, walleye, perch, bass, and other non-native fish that feed on young salmon. And we're starting to see an uptick in northern pike, which is becoming a little bit alarming. New introductions of invasive species often don't immediately spread exponentially. There's what's known as a lag time, where a population grows to a certain level where it then is able to reproduce and proliferate at a higher level. So we're very concerned that this is just the first indication of what's to come.
Well, frankly, Lake Washington has become kind of a mess, partially due to bucket biology and partially for other reasons, because there's rock bass in there that are preying on smolt. There's walleye that have been caught out of there as well. And now there's northern pike. And don't even get me started on the American shad, which has somehow gained a foothold in there as well. But, you know, the walleye, the rock bass, the pike, all stocked by bucket biologists, correct?
Correct. There is a new fish populations across the western United States have frequently occurred with the illegal movement of fish by anglers. And oftentimes we recognize that individuals just may not be aware that that's not the right thing to do. If you're moving fish that are live to new locations, you may be moving fish diseases. You may also be moving a species that's not naturally found there that will find a niche and really like the new environment to a point where the populations increase to a size where we start to see environmental impacts. And those environmental impacts in the state of Washington have high economic value.
Yeah, and sticking with Lake Washington, you know, the species that is getting harmed there, juvenile sockeye salmon. If pike get in there, it'd be the adult sockeye salmon too. But there's other fish like trout and other salmon species that are also being gobbled up by this combination of rock bass, pike, and walleye, right?
Correct. A northern pike will eat any fish between 10 inches to 35 inches, and they seem to prefer shiny fish. They're easy to track. They're ambush predators. And so any beneficial fish in that waterway would be at very high risk of predation.
Got about a minute left. What's a message you would like to give to folks listening, not just in Washington, but around the Northwest, when it comes to northern pike, and for those who think that moving them from one body of water to another is a good idea?
It's never a good idea to move any live fish without a permit for a variety of reasons, including fish diseases, as well as the movement of potential invasive species. We need everyone's help to stop the spread of invasive northern pike and any other invasive species. And everyone can help by being aware of the problem, knowing how to identify the species, and then immediately notifying state agencies like the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife when they're found. And through that notification, it may trigger rapid response where we can stop the population before we see massive economic or environmental impacts. And you can do that by calling the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife at 1-888-WDFW-AIS, or you can report it to the Washington Invasive Species Council. There's a really great reporting tool called the Washington Invasives Mobile Application, which is a handy field guide and reporting tool for invasive plants as well as animals.
All right, invasive species, particularly northern pike, they are not wanted in the Evergreen State. Do your part to help stamp them out. Justin, thanks for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Come to Montana's Missouri River Country for an awesome fishing adventure. Northeast Montana is home to Fort Peck Reservoir, a massive body of water known for great walleye, pike, bass, and Chinook salmon fishing. Nelson Reservoir has given up state records for northern pike and perch, and don't forget our rivers. The Yellowstone and Missouri are classic destinations, and if you're coming in June, you have to check out the Catfish Classic on the Milk River. Plan your fishing trip today at MissouriRiverMT.com and sign up to receive a free travel guide.
The Brewster Salmon Derby is going off August 2nd through the 4th on the Upper Columbia River. There's over $10,000 in cash and prizes to include a $2,000 check for the king of the pool. Register today at brewstersalmonderby.com.
BirdNote is proud to share its storytelling with fans of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. You can help inspire more people to care about the natural world by making a tax-deductible donation at birdnote.org. Support BirdNote today with a gift of any amount at birdnote.org.
This year, resolve to immerse yourself into the great outdoors. Whether you're learning to hunt, fish, hike, camp, paddle, or grill, or are looking to take yourself to the next level, the place to go for the gear you need is Sportsman's Warehouse. With over 145 stores around the nation, Sportsman's Warehouse is truly America's premier outfitter. Find a store near you or shop online anytime at sportsmans.com. That's sportsmans.com for Sportsman's Warehouse.
Before we go today, we've got time for one last shot of Northwestern Outdoors Radio with your host, John Cruz.
I'm glad you're back because it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week. And it's all about one of America's favorite dogs, the Labrador Retriever. Now, the Labrador Retriever is a very popular family dog, always one of the most popular dogs in America, whether they be yellow labs or chocolate labs or black labs. And they're very versatile in the field. They will hunt waterfowl and upland game, do a great job at both. But here's your question. The Labrador Retriever actually does not come from Labrador. So where did the Labrador Retriever originate from? Was it from Massachusetts in America? Was it from Scotland in the United Kingdom? Or was it from Newfoundland in Canada? One lucky person who guesses right wins the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. And oh, by the way, they have gun dog training supplies at Sportsman's Warehouse too. So if you've got a lab or any other hunting dog, get what you need to train your dog up right for the hunting season ahead. Before we wrap up, I do want to share some information about that big bass tournament I fished with my best friend Rusty Johnston last weekend. I can tell you that I hooked into a monster bass. But as to whether that monster bass was actually landed and how we came out in the tournament in terms of an hourly prize or winning it all, a $6,500 paycheck, well, you'll have to tune in next weekend to find that out. On that note, it's time to go. If you didn't hear the whole show, you can listen to it as a podcast just about anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you're going to be on the road, check out our website, northwesternoutdoors.com, and find all the stations we air on in 7 states so you can keep up with what's going on in the great outdoors right here in the greater Northwest. Our ending song today comes from Frank Prenevos, that talented musician who lives in Nashville and put together one of my favorite CDs, I Miss Lake Bemidji, and this song is from that CD. Until next time, do take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.
He has several friends who live in their boats and think muskie fishing's an art. He has all kinds of tackle from Wendell's and can catch and Northland jigs by the score. And he gets my last dollar with the new hog wobbler before I walk out the door. And I miss Lake Bemidji and all of my buddies and all of the beer we go through. Chucking big bait, making figure eights with musky spinners and lures. Oh, honey, I love you, and that's not a line. Musky guides all tell the truth. This must be the reason why I miss fishing more than I miss you. This must be the reason why I miss fishing more than I miss